An ancient human could run for miles chasing a wild animal, survive freezing nights, cross dangerous forests, and endure days without food, while you, probably, feel like a small Wi-Fi failure is already a threat to your survival. But the strangest part is that our ancestors really were more resilient in some ways, just not for the reason we usually imagine. They were not superhumans. They did not have magical muscles, perfect bodies, or the genetics of legendary warriors. They were ordinary people living in a world that demanded something most modern humans rarely need to use: constant adaptation. Imagine waking up thousands of years ago. There is no supermarket, no delivery app, no nearby hospital, and no house designed to protect you from every weather condition. The day begins with a simple question: will you find food today? The environment around you is filled with invisible threats. A small cut can become a dangerous infection. A harsher winter can mean starvation. The wrong encounter with a predator can be the last moment of your life. Every decision matters. And yet, those people survived long enough for you to exist today. But does that mean your ancestors were better than us? Or were they simply trapped in a survival game that trained their bodies and minds every single day? To understand this story, we need to return to a world where comfort was rare and survival was the main job of the human brain. If you enjoy discovering the hidden stories behind human behavior, evolution, and the everyday things we rarely question, subscribe to the channel. Because many answers about who we are still buried in the past. For most of human history, our bodies were built for an environment completely different from the one we live in today. An ancient human did not spend hours sitting in a chair staring at a screen. They walked, carried heavy objects, climbed, searched for resources, built tools, and used their own body as their main survival instrument. The human body was a machine designed for movement. But there is a detail almost nobody notices: they did not do this because they wanted to stay healthy. They did it because there was no other choice. Today, many people go to the gym trying to recreate movements our ancestors performed naturally. We lift weights, run on treadmills, and search for activities that simulate a more active lifestyle. The irony is that our ancestors never had time to think about fitness. They were too busy trying to stay alive. But this still does not explain everything. Because if we look at an ancient human, we discover something interesting. They were not necessarily stronger in every way. Many had shorter lives, faced constant diseases, and suffered injuries that today would be easily treated. So why do we have this idea that they were more resilient? The answer is one word: pressure. Evolution works like a filter. It does not create perfect organisms. It favors traits that help a species survive in a specific environment. For thousands of generations, humans who handled hunger, cold, physical effort, and danger better had a higher chance of surviving and passing their genes forward. The human body learned to save energy because energy was precious. When you crave something high in calories, like sugar or fat, there is an ancient story behind it. In a world where food could disappear for weeks, finding a quick source of energy was a huge advantage. Today, the same mechanism that helped a prehistoric hunter take advantage of a sweet fruit or a rare source of fat can make someone crave highly processed foods available everywhere. In the past, this could save a life. Today, it can create completely different problems. And this is where the past begins to appear inside modern life. But when we talk about resilience, we are not only talking about the body. The brains of our ancestors were also trained by a different environment. Imagine living in a small group of people where your survival completely depended on others. You needed to understand expressions, notice changes in behavior, identify danger, and know who you could trust. The human brain evolved to survive in groups. That is why even today we feel uncomfortable when we are ignored, rejected, or excluded. For an ancient human, losing the group could mean losing protection, food, and safety. The feeling of not belonging was not just emotional. It was a survival problem. But the most surprising part comes now. Many modern behaviors that seem like weaknesses may actually be older versions of tools that protected our ancestors. Anxiety, for example, is often seen only as a problem. But the constant fear of possible threats had a purpose. An ancestor who ignored every sound in the forest probably would not live very long. While someone who thought, "What if there is a predator there?" had a better chance of escaping. The problem is that the modern brain continues using this ancient system in a world where threats have changed. The danger that once came from an animal hiding between trees can now be an unanswered message, financial stress, or social pressure. The brain still reacts as if it is trying to protect someone in a dangerous wilderness. Except now the wilderness is made of information, expectations, and constant stimulation. But this still does not explain why some people seem physically more resilient. One clue comes from studies of traditional populations and human groups that maintained lifestyles closer to those of our ancestors. Researchers observed hunter-gatherer communities, such as the Hadza people, and discovered something fascinating: their bodies used energy differently compared to modern urban populations. They were not simply stronger, like characters from movies. The difference was their lifestyle. Constant movement, diverse food sources, exposure to natural environments, and physical activity spread throughout the day. Their bodies were a response to the world they lived in. And that is when something unexpected happened. Humanity started changing its own environment. First came better tools. Then agriculture. Then cities. Then machines capable of doing work that once required enormous physical effort. Every invention solved a problem. But every solution also created new challenges. Agriculture allowed human groups to grow and create civilizations. But it also brought new diseases, repetitive labor, and dependence on fewer food sources. Cities created safety and opportunities. But they also increased exposure to disease and conflict. Technology increased our abilities. But it reduced the need to use some ancient skills. It is as if we bought an incredibly powerful car and, after thousands of years, forgot that our legs still exist. The modern world changed quickly. The human body did not. And that difference created a strange situation: we are an ancient species living in a brand new environment. You can have a refrigerator full of food, a comfortable bed, and protection from almost every danger our ancestors faced. But your brain still carries millions of years of evolutionary history. It still searches for safety. It still wants recognition. It still fears the unknown. It still desires quick rewards. It still tries to save energy. The strangest part is that these traits are not failures. They are the marks of a long history of survival. But there is an unexpected side to evolution. The same adaptation that helped us in the past can become a problem today. The body that learned to store energy during times of scarcity now lives surrounded by unlimited food. The brain that learned to seek novelty to find resources now receives thousands of new signals every day. The mind that needed to stay alert against real dangers can now become trapped in constant worry. We are not living the kind of life our bodies were originally designed for. And maybe that is one of humanity's greatest contradictions. We have more comfort than ever. More safety than ever. More tools than ever. But inside us lives a creature that was born in a completely different world. A creature that still searches for signs in the darkness. That still values the group. That still feels fear. That still tries to survive. And maybe that is why the question, were our ancestors more resilient, has a more interesting answer than it first appears. They were not better. They were prepared for a different world. They had bodies shaped by necessity. We have bodies shaped by history. The difference is that they fought against nature every day. And we fight to remember that we are still part of it. So the next time you feel the urge to move, seek comfort, crave a certain food, or worry about something small, remember, inside you, an ancient story is still happening. A story written by thousands of generations trying to do one simple thing: keep existing.